Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video, we're going to briefly discuss the issue of prenuptial agreements, specifically when the marriage, the underlying marriage related to the prenuptial agreement, is registered here in the Kingdom of Thailand. Now, this is extremely important because Thailand has a very specific set of formalities associated with the registration of marriage. And in fact, it can be somewhat frustrating dealing with what are called the Civil Registrar Office or the CAT office here in Bangkok proper, or the Ampur office out in the provinces. It can be rather difficult to deal with some of the formalities associated with marriage registration. It can be frustrating, especially for someone who Thai is not their first language. And even if Thai is one's first language, you're sometimes dealing with some legalese and some bureaucracies with respect to the registration, not only of just a marriage, but as I'm about to explain, with registration of the prenup. In Thailand, the civil law system that they use for marriage includes issues pertaining to a prenuptial agreement. In another video on this channel, prenuptial agreements are discussed sort of in a broadly general way. One thing to keep in mind with respect to a prenup with respect to the United States is the prenuptial agreement is considered an agreement between two parties. The consideration for the agreement is considered to be the marriage itself. And for that reason, prenuptial agreements are placed in a radically different legal posture and in a radically different light with respect to how they're later adjudicated by a judge in the event of a possible marriage dissolution. They are viewed in a different light to agreements made post-nuptially. Post-nuptial agreements, post-marital agreements they're actually called. And there's different sides of this, and there's different rules that pertain to different sides of that time frame, whether it was before the marriage or after. Suffice it to say, these issues are kind of front-loaded here in Thailand because essentially what they do is they register the prenup with the marriage. Effectively, the prenup is sort of like terms of the marriage. Okay, it's sort of like a marital contract. In a lot of ways, it's sort of as if the marriage itself and the rules governing it are within that agreement. For that reason, the Thai civil registrar officers take this stuff pretty seriously. And for that reason, again, it's always a good idea to have a Thai attorney assisting in these matters. And in fact, because it's actually an issue between two parties, it's a good idea to have two sets of Thai attorneys who are going to go ahead and explain, each party, you've got one Thai attorney drafting and explaining to their client, you've got one one Thai attorney over here reviewing and explaining to their client. And then at the time of the registration of the marriage with the prenup, it's not a bad idea to have a Thai attorney down there so that Thai attorney can basically say, hey, I was there, I've reviewed this with this individual, they know what they're signing, please, can we get this taken care of? That being said, notwithstanding the legal issues, the civil registrar officers can be, in my opinion, a little bit nitpicky when it comes to the formalities of even of registering the thing, as they'll sometimes even go in and find typos and things that they want fixed before they'll allow the registration. So for this reason, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and have professional assistance with respect to registration of a prenup with a marriage. But it's really, really interesting because this registration is interesting from my point of view because this registration of prenups with the marriage really shows the difference between a common law system like the United States and the civil law system like Thailand. In Thailand, they essentially front load all the prenup issues with the marriage during the registration of the marriage. And for that reason, it can cause the process of actually getting married with a prenup to be a little bit longer than we'd ever think of it being. As far as from a legalization standpoint, in say the U.S., by going down to a courthouse, you simply do it, and the agreement is just between the two parties. You don't really have this initial state involvement by this officer who's taking a look at this agreement before it's being registered as part of the marriage. But that being said, in a way, it sort of front loads a lot of the issues associated with a prenup or an adjudication of the merits of a prenup later. That's not to say that a civil registrar officer is in any way legally qualified or is legally or is in any way going to look at things the same way as a judge is going to later look at that agreement. But it suffices to say that the formalities have been adhered to, and once you've overcome some of those formalities, that's usually one of the major obstacles to reaching one's goal in a legal sense here in Thailand. So in a lot of ways, it's not a bad thing to go ahead and have, if one is planning to live in Thailand and have assets here in Thailand, marriage registration in Thailand with the prenup is a good idea if one wants a prenup. However, depending on if one intends to, move back to the United States, or it's not one's intention to really live in Thailand, registration of the marriage here in Thailand and the prenuptial agreement therewith may not necessarily be a great idea. Again, these are specific questions which should be asked under specific circumstances in each specific case to a specific attorney. But it's food for thought with respect to these issues. And again, it's sort of interesting to see the difference between the common law take on prenups and the civil law take on prenups when dealing with these matters in a Thai-American context.